Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to give a real quick video today showing you guys how I did this name with an offset, but the name itself is going to be cut out of multiple pieces of holographic, different colors of holographic vinyl. I started out just by I didn't have any specific measurement really. I just measured each one against itself so each piece could be exactly the same size or width. And like I said, this is multiple colors, so I just marked it, cut it with my paper cutter, and then I lined up each piece on my mat. You might want to have like a stickier mat, so maybe a newer mat. That way they're less likely to move around as they're cutting. And I just placed each one side by side. Using that paper cutter gave me a super straight edge so they could be 100% lined up as well as we can. And then I didn't really have any rhyme or reason for which colors I put down where. I did try to make sure it looked like there was a variance in color between all the different pieces. That way once it's cut out, you can see that there are definitely multiple pieces here. So I just laid them down, made sure they were straight and stuck, and put them into my silhouette. And in my computer, I didn't do anything special. I just typed out the name in a cursive font, and I welded the letters together so that there were no extra cut marks or anything like that. And just like I would for any piece of solid vinyl, I went ahead and push send, sent it to my silhouette, and let my silhouette work its magic. You can see here that it cut all the way across all the letters, or all the pieces of vinyl, excuse me. And then I just carefully weeded, and it took a little bit of extra time because obviously there's quite a few extra pieces here, even beyond the normal letters. So just take your time, weed it out like you would any other vinyl. And it's a little bit stiffer because it's holographic vinyl on top of that. I will put a link down in the description for each different color of holographic vinyl that I used here. And I just cut these pieces off so one, I could save the pieces, and two, there wasn't so much to pull off. And I will just let this go while I finish weeding. So then I did not take this vinyl off the sticky mat. I left it where it was, and I went ahead and applied my transfer tape right on top of the vinyl while it's still on my silhouette mat. That way all the pieces stay together, they stay in place side by side, lined up, and I don't have to worry about trying to piece it together on the transfer tape. And I just slowly kind of work the back off as I'm working the transfer tape onto the top of this so that I'm not getting any bubbles or anything like that. And then I just take it and rub it down really, really well, make sure that those letters are burnished onto the transfer tape. And I would use a new piece of transfer tape for this, you guys. That way you make sure you get it good and stuck on. And then I flip my mat over, and I actually take my mat away from the pieces of vinyl on the transfer tape. So I'm not risking like pulling any pieces up. You know, you just peel the edge of the mat back and slowly ease it off while trying to hold down each piece of vinyl. It's a little tricky, but not impossible. It's not as hard as it looks here. And sorry, my arm is in the way. But then you've got it right there, good and stuck on. And this is my go-to for vinyl to get it lined up just right on an offset piece of vinyl. Like I would do this even if I was putting a full sheet or a full solid color of vinyl onto an offset. I just put some masking tape, roll it outside on itself so it's almost like double-sided tape, stick it down to my counter so immobile. And then I use either wax paper or parchment paper. Probably parchment paper is a little bit better, but this is wax paper. It's what I had on hand. And then I just take each one of these little backing strips off. Just be really careful that you're not pulling up any of that vinyl. Like I said, a new piece of transfer tape works really, really well for this. A lot of times I will reuse my transfer tape over and over until it's no longer sticky. But for this, you definitely want to use a new piece of transfer tape to make sure those letters stay good and stuck. And then after I take all this backing off, I kind of line my letters, these cut letters, on top of the wax paper, which is on top of the offset vinyl. And I do this because it gives me, because I kind of mess up sometimes on this, and ever since I found this way, oh my gosh, it's been such a game changer for me. So I put it on the wax paper, that way I can absolutely move it around or whatever, and I have a little bit of that transfer tape hanging off the end of the wax paper. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to stick the transfer tape to my table using that as an anchor, and then I'm going to take the wax paper off the back of the transfer tape and then lay this top multicolored vinyl onto the offset. And like I said, I would do this for a solid piece of vinyl, putting it on an offset as well. And parchment paper is a little bit better in terms of what you see going on here. It's not as sticky, or the vinyl doesn't stick as well to the parchment paper, so it makes it a little easier to pull off. But just carefully pull off this wax paper, and then as you can see, that bottom piece of transfer tape is stuck to my counter, and my offset up above in that dark purple is also stuck to my counter. So neither one of these situations are moving until I move this top piece onto that back offset. And then I just gradually rub it down, and I'm holding that top of the transfer tape so it doesn't just like flop down on there before I'm ready. And this just is working out any bubbles or anything like that. And I just slowly roll it up onto that offset, and it creates, I mean, unless I mess up on my area of my transfer tape off the wax paper, it really is almost foolproof. So then I just take these piece of masking tape off, or painter's tape, whatever you have on hand, and set them aside because a lot of times I'll reuse them. And then, yeah, I think it's so cute to be able to use multicolors. This would be really neat for even patterned vinyl, like strips of patterned vinyl. And then I didn't measure anything here. This is a little water bottle. I made it for my niece for school. She started kindergarten this year. I'm so proud of her and so excited for her. So I just kind of lined it up where I thought it looked good and stuck this transfer tape down and 100% looked it over. And then I just carefully took the transfer tape kind of back from the backing of that offset, and it did take a little bit. I sped it up here because it was kind of tedious and long. But I took the backing off, and then just like I do really any other vinyl, I just kind of smoothed it down and tried to make sure there was no bubbles or anything like that. And just like I say all the time, just take your time here, guys, because you don't want any bubbles. They will show up. So work out the bubbles, make sure it's good and stuck down, and then take that transfer, try to peel it off back on itself as close to the vinyl as you can. And if you see any pieces trying to come up or anything, just take a second and lay that transfer tape back over it and push down a little bit harder. Sometimes for me, it helps to come in from a different angle. Even with solid vinyl, sometimes there's little spots that just are kind of finicky, especially with thin cut vinyl or thin cut letters or any kind of intricate design. But that's it. That's all I got for today. So if you guys haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. If you liked this and got value, please hit the thumbs up. And if you are a beginner and need some extra help, I will put a link to my beginner series right here. Have a good day, you guys. See you next time.